The A's are 217 and the Nays are 185.
Breaking overnight, the House passing a beefed-up spending bill with nearly $6 billion for President Trump's border wall.
The question now is, what will the Senate do?
I am asking Congress to defend the border of our nation.
Defense Secretary James Mattis is retiring.
Oh, I'm not shaken in the least about it. I'm confident the president will be able to find a successor.
Meanwhile, Commander-in-Chief is considering another major military withdrawal.
This is likely the beginning of the end of the U.S. involvement in Afghanistan.
President Trump expected to sign the criminal justice reform bill today. The president tweeting in part, quote, "When both parties work together, we can keep our country safer."
Holy cow! A North Dakota farmer forms a cross using his neighbor's cows as a way to remind people of the birth of Jesus.
All across the world.
4 more days until Christmas. It is the first day of winter. I'd forgotten about that. It's the 21st. It always happens on the 21st, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you associate winter with snow. It's pouring outside.
Right. And it's pouring rain.
It's 65 degrees. What's up with that?
So many times in periods like this, you go, hey, time to look back at the year that was. We can't stop this year yet. This year is on a breakneck pace like I've never seen before.
We're going to rewind the year coming up at 6:30 this morning.
We're going to have to edit that.
We've edited 2018 Fox and Friends down to 6 minutes and 21 seconds.
Let's play it now. See you later.
Right.
We're signing off.
No, I'm just saying we can't end the year on the 21st or 22nd, whatever the heck date it is.
21st.
Because there's going to be so much happening before the end of the year. We're going to have to add another 10 minutes on
right.
it.
You're right. You're right. Speaking of
the
that.
year thus far.
Let's get to that Fox News alert. President Trump is thanking Congress now for passing that spending bill with nearly $6 billion for the border wall.
Wow, that's more than he thought he would get. This is a live look at Capitol Hill, where the Senate has just hours to come up with an agreement and avoid a government shutdown. That would be, what, 18 hours from right now.
All right, even though it says brain, I'll read from here. Griff Jenkins is live in Washington as we approach the midnight deadline. Hey, Griff.
He is the brains of this operation.
Yes. Morning,
Hey,
Griff.
guys.
Merry Christmas.
You're right. This year's not over. Merry Christmas. Look, the Senate thought they solved this problem. Now they have a bigger one. House Republicans passing a spending bill with full funding for a border wall by a vote 217 to 185. 8 Republicans voting against it. Now, afterwards, Speaker Paul Ryan and Leader Kevin McCarthy said they had to muster these votes because President Trump said he was going to threaten a veto. Here's what's in this bill. Take a look. $5.7 billion for the border wall, $7.8 billion for disaster relief, and it funds the government until February 8th. Now, this was a defeat for Democrats who claim the GOP didn't have the votes. Well, now Democrats are branding this the Trump shutdown.
The President of the United States prefers to shut government down.
President Trump is throwing a temper tantrum and creating the Trump shutdown.
The bill now goes to the Senate where its future is uncertain. Republicans need 60 votes to overcome a filibuster in a 51-49 majority. So throw in the towel. It's shutdown time, right, guys? Well, not so fast, says Republican Senator Steve Daines, a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, who's tweeting, it's time to use the nuclear option. He says House just passed a bill that fully funds government and enables President Trump to secure our border, build the wall. Senate can do the same, eliminating the filibuster. 51 votes, same as we do for judges. And as you mentioned, Steve Doocy, it's 18 hours and counting. So it's going to be a very eventful day today. One interesting note, House members who lost their races or retired are waiting around to see if they still have to vote on a new Senate version without anywhere to go because their offices have already been closed and turned over.
Right, and they were in the hall.
Yeah, where are they hanging out?
They're wearing Hawaiian shirts and
They're
sunglasses.
at the
All right,
Starbucks.
Yeah, I'll add to something else. Good to see you, Griff. But the other thing that makes it a little bit challenging is Senator Bob Corker goes, I'm going home.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm not voting. I'm retiring. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm finished. I'm through.
That's all because the Senate did pass the bill. And then apparently yesterday morning, Mark Meadows, who is the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, he called the president and he said, hey, this Senate bill doesn't have a nickel of the money you want. Is this really what you want your legacy to be? And apparently he said, Meadows told the president, according to Politico, conservatives will have your back. Now is the last best chance to fight. Problem was the fact that half the Senate has already gone home. But nonetheless, the president got on the horn, pulled Paul Ryan out of a meeting. They all went to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and the president said, okay, what are we going to do about this? We need wall money. And apparently the president said, I'm okay with the shutdown. Then they went, they voted on it. Now he's got almost $6 billion for wall money in the House bill. The next stop goes to the Senate.
That's what's so interesting about this. It was 1.6, then it was 1.3. Now we're back up to almost $6 billion, but now it's up to the Senate. And the Senate, they're going back to the drawing board. Will it pass there? They need 10 Democrats to get on board. Will that happen? Probably not.
I don't think Democrats are going to go back to the drawing board. They want to hold their stance. Remember, Nancy Pelosi, who is so widely hailed for her stance against the president in the Oval Office a week ago, made a prediction. Mr. President, you don't have the votes. If you go back in the House, you don't even have the votes. Not only don't you have the 60 votes in the Senate, you don't have the votes in the House to get $5 billion for the wall. Remember this.
The fact is that legislating, which is what we do, you begin, you make your point, you state your case. That's what the House Republicans could do if they had the votes. But there are no votes in the House, a majority of votes, for a wall, no matter where you start.
Oh, really?
She was totally wrong. She must feel humiliated today.
The president was tweeting about it, saying, I'm so proud of the Republicans in the House, and said, I don't need you to apologize now, Nancy.
That's right. In the tweet, he said this.
Soon-to-be Speaker Nancy Pelosi said last week live from the Oval Office that the Republicans didn't have the votes for border security. Today, the House Republicans voted and won 217 to 185. Nancy does not have to apologize. All I want is great border security.
All right, so where are we now? We are at this step, as Griff outlined. Now the Senate is going to take a look at the House bill with the close to $6 billion in it, right? They're going to say, nope, don't want it. And the way things are set up right now, where you need that 60-vote margin, it's going to die. Unless, as Senator from the great state of Montana, Steve Daines, said, the president and Mitch McConnell deployed the nuclear option. That is where you just have a simple majority. You just need 51 senators in the House, or rather in the Senate, to say yes to the $6 billion. Will that happen? Don't know. In the past year, though, we have seen that Mitch McConnell felt so strongly about Judge Kavanaugh that he went to the nuclear option to make sure that he was approved by the Senate. So will the president urge Mitch, hey, roll out the nuclear option? So many Republicans want that wall. Right. It's now or never, Mitch.
Problem, Corker left, Flake is Flake. You might not have 50.
Here's the other problem. There are a lot of Republican senators who don't want the wall.
Yes.
So that's going to be a problem.
Right.
Nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see if the president tweets out, hey, Steve Daines, you're absolutely right. We need the nuclear option.
We'll see. Also yesterday, the Defense Secretary, James Mattis, he announced his retirement, says he's going to leave February 28th next year in a few months. The president tweeted saying that he is retiring with distinction. They've made tremendous progress, especially with purchasing new fighting equipment, thanks to the general. And he said he helped force other countries to pay their share of military obligations. So he was very complimentary of him.
But the timing of this and the contents of that letter is really an insult to the resignation letter. Is really a subtle insult, shot across the bow of the President of the United States. Not one word of praise. Here's an example. We must do everything possible to advance an international order that is more conducive to our security, prosperity, and values. And we are strengthened in this effort by the solidarity of our alliances, because you have the right to have a Secretary of Defense whose views are better aligned with yours on these and other subjects. I believe it is right for me to step down from my position. Key for this, the President, the Secretary of Defense is not behind the rapid, unpredicted pullout of our troops out of Syria, the drawdown while in the middle of truce talks in Afghanistan. And I think it's also key that he brought up the need for respecting our alliances, clear-eyed about the malign actors and strategic competitors as we pull back he couldn't stand up.
Right,
I also, just so I'd like to add this, one of the main reasons why he was leaving in January anyway is, despite all these disagreements, was when he went to bat for Dave Goldfein to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to replace Dunford. Right. The president wanted to turn around and took the Secretary of the Army, Milley, and that was looked as a rebuke to the Mattis, who says, I can't deal with this.
Hold on, Brian. You're saying Mattis was going to leave in January anyway? Well, then why was there such a freak out? Watch this.
Whatever you're doing, please just sit down and watch, even if you watch just this much of the show, because I think it's important for our country and the world. If you are worried tonight, you should be.
Well, I'm shaken by the news because of the patriot that General Secretary Mattis is.
It sounds like from what General Mattis is saying is that admiration for authoritarian regimes was not a joke. It was, in fact, so serious and so sincere that the defense secretary is resigning in part over it.
We have a White House in crisis. General Mattis, great respect for his military service, haven't agreed with every decision of his, but he has always been a force to restrict the president's and intervene against the president's worst instincts.
Look, apparently the president was told on Thursday in the White House by Mr. Mattis he would quit after the president said he was going to draw down in Afghanistan and Syria as well, which is no surprise because the president campaigned for, when he was running for president, he was going to pull people out because he thought it was too expensive and too many lives were being lost.
Nonetheless, by the way, are there too many lives being lost in Syria? In 3 years, we lost 2 in combat and 3 in training. And that is provide stability in the area. We are now abandoning the Kurds, who are about 3 weeks away from total slaughter. And all they've done for us is show total allegiance to us, and they trusted us. And now we'll never get another ally in that region.
All right, as far as his replacement is concerned, General Jack Keane was talking about that and said he's sure that he will find a strong replacement for that job. Listen.
Well, I'm not shaken in the least by that. I think we're going to miss Jim Mattis's leadership, to be sure. But I've said many times, I think President Trump has managed to surround himself with one of the strongest national security teams I've ever observed. Jim Mattis was a very important part of that, but he's not the only part of it. And I'm confident the president will be able to find a successor who's very capable and will support the president's agenda and also disagree with him strongly when necessary.
All right, so there you've got General Jack Keane. He's not freaking out, unlike folks on the other channel. And it's not unusual. Keep in mind, the president and his White House right now are in a time of transition. It happens in every administration after the midterms. Take a look at, during the Obama administration, Barack Obama's Green Right had 4 secretaries of defense. George W. Bush had 2 secretaries of defense, and William Jefferson Clinton had 3.
Well, that's true. But we now have Rand Paul as Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State. This is Rand Paul's foreign policy. Rand Paul, to his credit, is true to his school. This is Rand Paul getting to the president, saying, pull out everybody. We don't want to waste any money and time and have any influence.
Brian,
we are turning over. Let me just finish.
On this.
If we wanted to elect Rand Paul, he would have got 9 votes nationally. He could be Secretary of State for Kentucky. That's it. The President of the United States is looking past all of his advisors and going with Bernie Sanders and Rand Paul. If you're okay with that, congratulations. That's the foreign policy.
But that was the foreign policy he ran on. As
he wanted to beat ISIS and we're not.
The war in Afghanistan, though, has been going on for 17 years. When I read this, all I thought about were the family members when their kids are over there, and they're probably thrilled to hear some of this.
Ainsley,
I don't want to pull out too soon, but you do think about the families.
Good point. But I also think of those people on the 55th floor who are already burned alive or jump for their lives, because it's the same mindset.
We don't want that to happen
letting them go to take root again.
All right, let us know what you think, especially if you have military experience. We'd love to hear from you.
Indeed.
All right, 13 minutes after the top of the hour. He was CNN's Journalist of the Year, and now this reporter admits several of his stories are literally fake news. One of them about Trump supporters in a small Minnesota town. That mayor is here to respond live. Coming up next.
He was CNN's Journalist of the Year, and now Klaus Reloitis is resigning from his job at Der Spiegel magazine in Germany after admitting he fabricated stories on a grand scale. For years, like this 2017 article on Trump supporters in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. In the article, he claimed At the entrance, just before the station, there's a sign with the American Stars and Stripes banner, which reads, "Welcome to Fergus Falls, home of blank good folks." The problem? The sign does not actually look like that. Where's that part about the folks in Fergus Falls? Well, here to respond is that town's mayor, Ben Shire. Ben, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you as well. So this reporter came in, I guess he camped out in your town for a couple of weeks, and then the article comes out and it's nothing like your town. Why do you think he wrote what he wrote?
Well, I guess he came to the United States from Germany, and he had a narrative in his mind that he was going to write a story about a rural community. He got to our community. That narrative certainly didn't fit what he had in his mind, so I guess he decided to make it up.
Well, this is pretty easy to fact check. We've got a graphic. These are some of the things he wrote about you. First of all, you carried a Beretta 9mm to work. True or false?
That's false.
All right. And that's pretty easy to check out. People would know whether or not you had a gun. You have a disdain for potential woman president. True or false?
False. And Steve, I'll just say, I think what he did was he took multiple characters and blended them in this story. So that some of the quotes that were attributed it was kind of a combination of myself and my city administrator and some different people in town. So.
I see. So also you loved French philosophers, a New England Patriots fan, and you have never been to the ocean. And that's curious because I saw some pictures of you actually at the ocean. So why do you think he did this?
Well, again, I think it was to support a narrative in his mind and in many people's minds that rural communities are backwards, they're dying, and he got there, and within the first 10 minutes, Steve, of me sitting down with him, I could see in his face that his preconceived notions of this rural community just weren't there. Now, of course, I had no couldn't conceive that he would go and then just make it up. I thought, hey, here's a perfect opportunity to tell our story, and to tell the story of many rural communities that we're thriving, that there's so many positive things happening. But he didn't want to hear that. Yeah,
he wanted to make up a different narrative. But Der Spiegel now says apparently they're going to look into all of his work and figure out how much of the stuff he made up. Ben Shire joined us today from Minneapolis. Sir, thank you very much for joining us, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, Steve.
You bet. All right, 6:20 here in New York City. A brand new scandal surrounding Planned Parenthood. Pregnant workers now accusing the organization of discrimination. How Planned Parenthood is responding this morning. Plus, Secretary Mattis stepping down. Who's going to take over? That's straight ahead.
Good morning. We're back with some headlines now, and today memorial services begin for two officers killed by a train in Chicago. Officers Eduardo Marmoleo and Conrad Gary were on the tracks looking for a shooting suspect. Police say they likely never saw the train coming and died instantly. Edward Brown is charged in connection to the cops' deaths. He claims he found a gun in an alley and fired it just to see if it worked. Democrats are hoping a dozen debates help cut down a potentially massive field of presidential hopefuls. The DNC will hold its first primary debate in June of next year, but they may need to split it up into multiple nights to include all of the candidates. The Democrats will hold a debate almost once every month through mid-2020. At one point, nearly 30 people, you see them right there, were rumored to be considering a White House run. Let's look at your headlines. Brian, send it to you.
All right, thanks, Jillian. All right, here we go. Defense Secretary James Mattis announcing his retirement in a letter to the president.
The general wrote yesterday, quote, "Because you have the right to a Secretary of Defense whose views are better aligned with yours, I believe it's right for me to step down from my position."
So what impact will this have on our foreign policy? Let's ask Fox and Friends Weekend co-host and also a person who served our great country, a veteran, Pete Hegseth. Pete, what do you think about this? What about his resignation letter?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a response to a building frustration, clearly, that General Mattis has had and a difference he has with the president. Right. General Mattis is right. The president does have the right to have a defense secretary who's more aligned with his views. I think it's been good that Mattis has been there for a couple of years. Wouldn't you, as a new president, want to have that kind of expertise? One of our best warfighters, generations he's been listening to and hearing from him. Ultimately, after 2 years, though, if he's made a decision as the commander-in-chief, I don't want to be involved in Syria the way we are. I want less troops in Afghanistan. You can debate the merits of that, but that's the prerogative of a commander-in-chief. But it's going to be President Trump who lives with the consequences of those decisions and the impact in the Middle East.
And would you also say when it comes to Iraq, remember Iraq was about to fall until we flew our troops back in there because President Obama declared victory and left early. See, President Trump has the advantage of seeing what happened when we made a mistake and leaving early. We watched ISIS rise out of the ashes and almost take over a country, lost tens of thousands of people to get back. And then on top of that, Syria. ISIS was created because we weren't responsible in how we left Iraq.
And then ISIS was crushed because this president saw it as a prerogative.
Not done yet.
99% as far as their actual
30,000 troops in the area.
Not done. Totally understand that. But also, you have, as a commander-in-chief, you have to make a risk-reward calculation of how long you're going to be somewhere, what kind of investment you make. And I think there's a lot of people that have said, the smart people say that for 17 years, we've got to stay in the Middle East with hundreds of thousands of troops.
You mean Afghanistan?
In Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, or elsewhere. At some point, you've got to look and say, is it worth the trillions? Has it really gotten better for us? But you have to remember, Iran, Russia, China, all lurking. If their influence expands, that is not good for us.
That is the worry.
Those are the decisions.
And are they?
Yeah, they are.
All right.
I mean, that's fair to say.
But the president did campaign on pulling out of the Middle East. And yesterday he tweeted, look, it's time to come home. Essentially, we do not want to be the policeman of the Middle East because the cost has been so high in money and lives.
You can't say he's reversing his position. No. This is something he's been open about. The question is,
so we shouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, well, how does John Bolton feel about it? How does Mike Pompeo feel about it? You still have people with more Mattis-like views inside the administration. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
In Mattis's letter, he says, I don't want to be a policeman of the world. That's not the point. This is in our interest to be there. That's the point with Bolton, Pompeo. I want to speak for Pompeo, but obviously for Mattis too. There are 20 active groups right now, terrorist groups right now, focusing in Afghanistan. We're in the middle of truce talks. What kind of leverage do we get when we announce we're pulling out troops in the middle of truce talks with the Taliban?
It doesn't increase our leverage. The problem is they've known we're headed for the exits now for a decade. Our policy in Afghanistan has been terrible for a long time.
You've been over there. You fought for our country. You've been over there. You've seen firsthand. What are your opinions? What do you think? Are we pulling out too soon?
We should have pulled. I mean, Afghanistan's been a lost cause for a long time. When I was there in 2011, 2012, the Taliban was already resurgent. We've fake surged with Obama, which wasn't real. We told them when they were going to leave. It didn't get better. Afghanistan is never going to be a perfect outcome. A small amount of troops so we can kill terrorists will be a good idea there.
So, Pete, I just want to add this from the Pentagon. We have lost 1,100 square miles in one day to ISIS since we announced the pullout. Kurds are pulling back. They are spreading out.
Listen, and if it goes sideways, it'll be on the president. So
it's happening now.
It is.
100%. It's on his watch. He's the commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
All right. This is the kind of stuff you hear Pete say on Fox Nation. Now, some people are wondering, I don't know exactly how to download it, and so Exhibit A, you're going to show us how to do it.
Yes, I'm here to do a little tutorial. I'm going to call it Pete the Cyber Guy, actually.
And while you walk over, explain the cats on your socks.
Well, cats on my... I do love cats, and they're wearing Christmas hats, so why not, right?
Cat in the hat.
All right, so Fox Nation, great new... It's not just on the web, it's an app. So if you don't have it on your phone or your iPad, it's really easy. Go to the Apple Store, or if you use Android, you go to the Google Store, right? You find that icon, and you click on it. It's that simple. When you get into that app store, just type in Fox Nation in the search function.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. Fox Nation in the search function in either phone. After you do that, guess what? You will get that as an option, and you just click on the Get button or the Install button if it's Apple or Android. Again, hit it, and it'll download onto the front of your phone.
It's just like every other app.
It's like every other app that you have, because we've had some confusion, guys, that this is a website or what is it. It's an app that lives on your phone. You click on it, boom, right here. Fox Nation pops up, and my face might be there, or Brian's, or Ainsley's, or
probably yours.
Right. It's a subscription service. It's about $6 a month. If you have Hulu, it's like that. You just pay for it, and it's
you can sign up for the year, or you can sign up for just a month if you want to try it out.
It's like Netflix for conservatives, is what I like.
And when I signed up, they give you a few weeks free.
They do. There's a free trial rate right now, so if you want to just check it out.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Thank you, guys.
All right, very good. All right. Meanwhile, Louis Farrakhan is known for his hateful rhetoric, for example.
At a synagogue of Satan, the satanic Jews, because you see white people deserve to die.
Right. Now his group, the Nation of Islam, is using taxpayer money to preach to inmates. How they are defending that move next.
And 2018 is coming to a close in a few days. It's been a busy year for Fox and Friends, and we're going to look back at all the highlights.
Excellent.
That was great. Weekends. We have more dance music over the last week.
Why not?
And Jason Derulo, it's unbelievable. Believe it or not, 2018 is winding down to a close.
That's right. And with more than 750 hours under our belts, Fox and Friends through the last year has been busy.
So if you've missed any of it, here are some of the highlights. And we haven't seen this yet. We always love it. Here are some of the highlights as we look back.
Our union is strong.
This is a show unlike any we've ever done before because we have never had a sitting president of the United States phone us. How would you grade yourself now?
I would give myself an A+.
We're doing a great job. Our country's coming back. Our country's respected again.
Let's go live to England right now, to Ainsley.
Thank you for joining us today.
Mr. Steve Ducey is live from Nationals Park ahead of tonight's congressional baseball game.
There wasn't a dry eye in the place.
I mean, if you don't believe in miracles and that God has a piece of this action, I mean, that was just unreal.
You were about to see something on the Fox News channel that has never happened. This is crazy. The President of the United States is coming up the driveway in front of the West Wing.
Are we on already?
We're on. We're live.
Oh, wow, that's good.
We're on every channell.
The country's doing better than it's ever done. You know, we have the best economy we've ever had.
What is it about America where we say, we're going to bring you home? We leave no man behind.
Griff Jenkins is embedded with the migrant caravan in southern Mexico. He joins us live.
Good morning, guys.
It is midterm election day. We're tracking all the critical races live from Fox Square. Ladies and gentlemen, we're live on Fox and Friends again.
This is a serious Breakfast with Friends upgrade.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really showing us up here.
Here, we're not talking to the politicians. We're talking to the real people.
Apparently, Pete, they think you're picking up the bill for breakfast.
Right.
They are fake news.
1, 2, 3, start the ride! Live from the Intrepid Museum.
I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm
Friday during
in the summer.
It's a beautiful.
Philippines don't dance. I never met a dance floor that did me any good. I've yet to dance on the show. Jillian Mill, not weird at all. A woman, not a loser.
Thank you.
Right. Winner. Speaking of standing up, that's why Jillian chooses to deliver the news.
Yep, because Brian said he won't let me sit.
Yeah.
I know, so he makes me stand.
No chairs. I'm the awkward toss king.
You are.
Yes, thank you.
You're pardoned for the dribbling of your coffee all down.
All right, I'll switch my tie.
Yes.
Straight ahead, Brian.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm shouting it out. My phone just answered me, and it just said, and you know I wasn't touching it.
Gavin DeGraw is now on my phone. Do you watch Fox and Friends every morning?
Man, I love the news. Hello?
John Rich.
Yes, sir.
Brian Kilmeade, we have a celebrity stroll. You want to quickly get me some boots, and the problem was I was wearing the wrong jeans.
Did you not tell Ducey that there's a dress code in the U.S. Capitol? Yeah. No jeans. What are you doing, man? Wearing jeans.
No, it is.
Todd, was that a scream or a turkey call?
Muck
Test MS, a cause that's very near and dear to my heart.
Our own Janice Dean, the repelling machine.
This has been a challenging year, but a wonderful year, and I'm so grateful for you and the folks at home. I'm almost there!
What I try to do is pull politics out of it and talk about the Battle of New Orleans. His country was losing this war badly. America needed a leader. They looked to Jackson.
You track your books that started with George Washington from the start.
The book comes out today. It's called The Light Within Me, getting here to the most famous curvy couch. And just the ride, it's been extraordinary, and I'm so grateful to God. Kathy Ducey.
That's right. Kathy joined us today because our cookbook, the Happy Cookbook, comes out today. We're going to go to somebody's house. They don't know we're coming. We're going to make you breakfast. Where's your kitchen?
This is good. This is a baked eggs Benny. But you all wish you were right here.
Back with us for Cooking with Friends, Diamond and Silk. Take it away.
Hey, some good old banana pudding.
You're good at spaghetti?
Yes.
I don't know if I really believe that.
That according to the Associated Press, Fox and Friends is the most influential news show on the air. Thanks to you, we are the world's #1 cable morning news show.
Are you happy to be on Fox and Friends? We're all together as one big Fox family.
What a busy 3 hours. Good news, we get 3 more tomorrow.
Yay!
See ya.
That was it.
So the big question is, why would you watch any other channel?
I know.
We got the news of the day, and we have a lot of fun.
So much fun.
And Megan McDonald put that together. It must have taken a while.
So good. Megan, you're so talented. Thank you.
She was the producer on it, and it was just delightful.
This is the most fun job I think I've ever had.
Really?
By the way. Yes. I don't know what that says about the others. No, that says a lot about all of you and everyone behind the scenes.
Yeah, it is great behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
We all like to watch because we learn what dresses we like, what hairstyles we like, how long or short our hair should be.
We're sitting next to Ainsley, and we're hearing these scintillating conversations and interviews. Ainsley's like, oh, I don't like that dress.
And I'm like, wait a second, I like that dress.
Oh, I like my hair the other way. I mean, what is going on?
I was only watching me.
But when you watch it all together like that, in that beautiful 6-minute montage, it does remind you, you miss a little, you miss a lot.
What I love, and also it was fun, but also some heartwarming pieces too.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're family.
Again, it's all about you. You're
and a reminder, Brian and Pete, this is the year still
Where
the
were
Eagles
yours?
won the Super Bowl. So.
Oh, technically this. Never
Brian, I got you to dance.
Yes, yes.
Against all my better instincts.
Yes.
Next year we'll get him to do the wave properly.
Anyway, thanks to all of you for watching and keeping us the #1 cable news show in the world. Meanwhile, straight ahead.
And let me just one final word of advice.
Okay.
Please get dressed.
Please, please do.
That was almost an awkward toss. Meanwhile, moving on. A bizarre rant from Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez has gone viral.
Jesus Christ, who had to flee for his life. Thank God there wasn't a wall that stopped him from seeking refuge in Egypt.
Okay, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was on the receiving end of that. How she responded to his empty chair coming up.
Yeah, she was brilliant. And Facebook under fire again. The social media giant reportedly shared even more of your data than previously thought. Even some private messages, exclamation point. So what can you do at home? Kurt, the cyber guy, is here.
Good morning. Back with some headlines now. The Nation of Islam defending the use of taxpayer dollars to fund a religious program for prisoners. In a statement, the group led by Louis Farrakhan says, quote, as effective as Minister Farrakhan's message is and has been, it should be supported with the resources it needs to remain a strong presence within the prison system. According to the Washington Examiner, the feds gave the group more than $364,000. Planned Parenthood is accused of mistreating pregnant employees. In a bombshell New York Times report, current and former workers say they were denied breaks while pregnant. They also claim managers declined to hire pregnant women and that the organization pushed people out after giving birth. Planned Parenthood is investigating those claims. Let's look at your headlines. Ainsley, send it to you.
Thanks, Jillian. Well, Facebook is under fire again, facing a series of privacy scandals. The latest coming from a New York Times report alleging the social media giant shared more data with its partners than previously thought, even allowing some companies access to users' private messages. Here to break down everything that you need to know is Kurt, the cyber guy. Hey, Kurt.
Hey,
good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, AZ. We're talking about Facebook yet again. We started this year, 2018, with Mark Zuckerberg coming out going, oopsie, I'm sorry again. His apology tour continues with the most embarrassing train wreck that's still going on at Facebook as we conclude 2018. And consumers, people like us, not knowing whether we can trust them or not. Because did you read the fine print?
Well, you sign up for Facebook. You probably check the box that says terms and conditions. I've read it, but no one ever does. And even if you did read it, would you understand it? It's like legal jargon, right?
Legal jargon, and it blankets a lot of stuff that you say, well, I can't imagine that they'd really abuse the information, but apparently they do. So,
and they do it to make money, right?
Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Facebook's priority has always been growing its network and attracting advertisers. It's all about the money. You and me, our privacy, what's good for us, has always been secondary to their machine of making money.
Now, we all want privacy, but for the folks at home, they're trying to shop for Christmas right now. They're stressed about that. They're trying to put their kids in college. They don't really have time probably to worry about this, so they're just saying, all right, so Facebook's reading my messages. What can we do about it? Probably nothing, right, unless you get off of Facebook.
Well, let me tell you what's happening right now. So a lot of people are getting off of Facebook, and where Facebook's going to have a huge problem is the next thing will be advertisers starting to bail on Facebook, because as a user base starts to wane,
right,
why would advertisers want to be there?
Do you think it'll really make a difference, though? Because people will just be more careful what they type when they send private messages. Or if you're sending a private message on Facebook, how well do you really know the person? Wouldn't you text to them if they were your really good friend?
It's certainly a smarter idea at this point to have direct conversation away from a social network if you have any anticipation of it being private. I think at this point we end 2018 with the idea that Facebook, anything we upload is going to be manipulated to the benefit of Facebook. Anything we think is private isn't necessarily private at all.
All right, keep that in mind when you're on Facebook. We did get a statement from them. They said, to be clear, none of these partnerships or features gave companies access to information without people's permission, nor did they violate our 2012 settlement with the FTC.
Did you read that too, Ryan?
Thank you, Kurt.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Coming up, we don't know if outgoing Senator Jeff Flake would vote for the border wall, but we do know something he would vote for, and that is apparently raising your taxes. Details on his parting gift straight ahead. And it's National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. Brian and Steve already have theirs on, and you're going to see which one I'll be wearing coming up next.
Good morning. Back with some headlines now. The Nation of Islam defending the use of taxpayer dollars to fund a religious program for prisoners. In a statement, the group led by Louis Farrakhan says, quote, as effective as Minister Farrakhan's message is and has been, it should be supported with the resources it needs to remain a strong presence within the prison system. According to the Washington Examiner, the feds gave the group more than $364,000. Planned Parenthood is accused of mistreating pregnant employees. In a bombshell New York Times report, current and former workers say they were denied breaks while pregnant. They also claim managers declined to hire pregnant women and that the organization pushed people out after giving birth. Planned Parenthood is investigating those claims. Let's look at your headlines. Ainsley, send it to you.
Thanks, Jillian. Well, Facebook is under fire again, facing a series of privacy scandals. The latest coming from a New York Times report alleging the social media giant shared more data with its partners than previously thought, even allowing some companies access to users' private messages. Here to break down everything that you need to know is Kurt, the cyber guy. Hey, Kurt.
Hey,
good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, AZ. We're talking about Facebook yet again. We started this year, 2018, with Mark Zuckerberg coming out going, oopsie, I'm sorry again. His apology tour continues with the most embarrassing train wreck that's still going on at Facebook as we conclude 2018. And consumers, people like us, not knowing whether we can trust them or not. Because did you read the fine print?
Well, you sign up for Facebook. You probably check the box that says terms and conditions. I've read it, but no one ever does. And even if you did read it, would you understand it? It's like legal jargon, right?
Legal jargon, and it blankets a lot of stuff that you say, well, I can't imagine that they'd really abuse the information, but apparently they do. So,
and they do it to make money, right?
Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Facebook's priority has always been growing its network and attracting advertisers. It's all about the money. You and me, our privacy, what's good for us, has always been secondary to their machine of making money.
Now, we all want privacy, but for the folks at home, they're trying to shop for Christmas right now. They're stressed about that. They're trying to put their kids in college. They don't really have time probably to worry about this, so they're just saying, all right, so Facebook's reading my messages. What can we do about it? Probably nothing, right, unless you get off of Facebook.
Well, let me tell you what's happening right now. So a lot of people are getting off of Facebook, and where Facebook's going to have a huge problem is the next thing will be advertisers starting to bail on Facebook, because as a user base starts to wane,
right,
why would advertisers want to be there?
Do you think it'll really make a difference, though? Because people will just be more careful what they type when they send private messages. Or if you're sending a private message on Facebook, how well do you really know the person? Wouldn't you text to them if they were your really good friend?
It's certainly a smarter idea at this point to have direct conversation away from a social network if you have any anticipation of it being private. I think at this point we end 2018 with the idea that Facebook, anything we upload is going to be manipulated to the benefit of Facebook. Anything we think is private isn't necessarily private at all.
All right, keep that in mind when you're on Facebook. We did get a statement from them. They said, to be clear, none of these partnerships or features gave companies access to information without people's permission, nor did they violate our 2012 settlement with the FTC.
Did you read that too, Ryan?
Thank you, Kurt.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Coming up, we don't know if outgoing Senator Jeff Flake would vote for the border wall, but we do know something he would vote for, and that is apparently raising your taxes. Details on his parting gift straight ahead. And it's National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. Brian and Steve already have theirs on, and you're going to see which one I'll be wearing coming up next.